Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of East Meets West WNBA edition, Dallas Wings edition. We got Joey Mistretta here, who covers the Dallas Wings for the Clutch Points Sports Program Network over there. however I say it, the channel. How you feeling today, bro?
I feel great. I appreciate you guys having me and ready to get started here.
Yes, sir.
That's right. I mean, this guy is the man, the myth, the legend, Joey Mistretta. I mean, like, you think I'm exaggerating? I open up like the Bird app or whatever you call it these days now, X, Twitter. I open the app. What is on my timeline? It's seemingly like a thirst edit of Joey, right? So clearly Joey Mistretta's popularity is resonating with fans, right? So I mean, I think we have the right guy to talk about the Dallas Wings.
Yes.
So on that note, though, I mean, probably a couple like specific questions and like some macro questions, but before we hit the record button, we were actually talking about like in general the state of Dallas sports, but let's focus on like just basketball right now. I mean, obviously, we've seen this season the Dallas Wings. They lucked up. They went up. Moved up in the draft. They got Paige Beckers, who was one of the most highly anticipated prospects we've seen in like the last several years. Yes. And then, lo and behold, even though there was some turmoil in Dallas and Dallas Mavericks, land, they end up with the number one pick. They got Cooper Flag. Just in general, more so. I mean, as fans, we see a lot of the discourse, the narratives, right, about the Dallas professional basketball teams, but more so from like a media perspective. Since like you're there in the media room, you interact with coaches. Like, what's the general vibe of just Dallas basketball? Like the outlook that I think organizations, not just the Mavs and the Wings, but like other media members, and like how are they really viewing Dallas as like a basketball hotspot?
No, great question. I think like looking at the Mavericks, it was different because the Luka thing that was so. I think we all came into the next game after, and it was like a war just happened or something. Like we felt like we didn't know what to expect. It was just crazy. With the Wings, it's hard. They're struggling. They're dealing with injuries. But we didn't have that moment where a star player got traded or we got blindsided by something like that. So I think the media members with the Wings, it's more of a consistent expectation for the future. Whereas the Mavs, we kind of had to really take in what just happened and think about like this guy, Luka Doncic, who we all thought we were probably going to cover for the rest of forever, and he's just gone. And we had to like take a step back and be like, okay, it's Anthony Davis time, it's Kyrie time, and obviously now it's Cooper Flag time. With the Wings, same type of deal though with Paige Beckers. The future's bright. I think it's Paige Beckers time. I just wrote something about Paige. I put it's time for Paige buckets or something like that. So I think there's a level of excitement amid the adversity is like the best way to describe the Dallas basketball scene right now.
Nice. On that note, actually, the article that you're referencing, where I believe, I mean, I don't want to spoil it for the readers. If they haven't read it, I encourage the readers to read it. It's Joey's latest article talking about like the state of Dallas sports. Right? You include the Cowboys, the Dallas Stars, and everything like that, where, I mean, as popular as the NBA, the NFL, NHL can be, Joey's kind of like, you kind of discussed the possibility of Paige kind of emerging as the face of Dallas sports. I mean, talk about that. If you can, I don't want to spoil your article. If you could elaborate that with regards to, I guess, how you've viewed her rookie season. We'll just jump right in then.
Yeah. First of all, I appreciate you reading the article. That means a lot in today's journalism age. Secondly, with Paige, I think it's a great opportunity for a WNBA player or just a women's athlete to become the face of a city. And we have seen that a little bit with Caitlin in Indiana, of course. I think Tyrese and Caitlin are probably up there. Here in Dallas right now, I was thinking for the long-term future. And I hope no fans thought I was, taking a slide at Kyrie. Like, I think he's definitely in the conversation. I was thinking long-term future.
Yeah.
And the reason I think Paige, and I didn't say Cooper in that article, was because I think fans are going to be a little bit hesitant to fully embrace Cooper in his first couple of years just because of Luka. Nothing against Cooper. I think Cooper's great, and hopefully fans just fully embrace him. But with Paige, you don't have that overshadowing, Luka Doncic. And then you look at the Cowboys. Micah Parsons gets traded. They're going to have frustrated with Dak
To the
Prescott.
Packers of all places. I hate them.
And then, the Rangers, Corey Seager, Jacob deGrom, great players, not really the face of a city yet. And I'm not a big hockey guy, but I just think Paige can fill that void. And it's not just good for Dallas. I think it's good for women's sports in general. I have 3 sisters. I have a niece. I love women's sports. And I think it's cool to see Paige potentially take that step.
That's crazy that you say all of that, because I didn't really put Paige into the terms of, the face of Dallas. You know what I mean? Like, just period. Like, that's crazy to say that. But did you feel like did Arike ever embody that? Like, after I seen the Mark Cuban commercial with her, I kind of felt like she kind of was embodying it. But did like the fans and everybody in Dallas like embrace her the same way ever?
Yeah, I think Arike is really beloved, honestly. I mean, I go to Wings games and you always see Okunbowale jerseys, and I think Arike has kind of been in that regard as well. I just think with Arike, the WNBA wasn't as popular when she was – I mean, she's still a great player, but she was injured this year. But in previous years, I just don't think the WNBA was quite at that popularity. And now the W is at such a good spot, and Paige's popularity is undeniable. So I just think – I think Paige could fill that void, but hey, maybe Paige and Arike, if Arike stays, maybe they both take over Dallas. I don't know.
Right. Go ahead, Con.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, like, one of the key words that's been used these last couple of minutes is popularity.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that was one of the points of your article, right, is that Paige had, like, especially 5 years at Connecticut, like she had already built up a very loyal and significant following, right? That now she takes with her to Dallas. But popularity and skill are not necessarily the same thing, right? I mean, for example, you can make an argument that like Cooper Flagg is immensely skilled. He may or may not have the same level of popularity as Paige, relatively speaking, right? And that can be debatable. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you believe that Paige in her rookie year has already showed the necessary level of talent where you believe like she is not only just going to galvanize fans' attention, she's actually going to be able to lift that franchise where her popularity is commensurate to how competitive her teams are?
I think sure. And I think the reason is, yes, she's an extremely talented player. Her mid-range is like a layup. It's unstoppable. I do think she needs to shoot threes. She's shown signs on defense. She has a great handle. But it's more than just that, because I think with Paige, you get leadership, and that is something that can't be taught. I think Paige just has this natural charisma and leadership that goes beyond just, popularity, but it goes into when this team is struggling right now. They have the worst record in the league, and yet you still feel like this hope. And the other players, they have this hope for the future. And I think Paige just has this energy. It's good vibes, really. It's really just good vibes. And I think the future is bright with Paige there for multiple reasons, like popularity, talent, leadership. There's so many good things that she does, which is why everyone's so excited about her and the future of the Wings.
Terrific.
Yeah. So do you actually see Arike staying with the Wings potentially?
That is a wonderful question. Right now, it's really up in the air. It's going to depend on what she wants to do. It's going to depend on what the Wings want to do. I do know for a fact the Wings would love to have her. Like, they love what she brings, and she is a lot of Wings fans' favorite player. So I think it's definitely a possibility, but just a lot of uncertainty. It depends on what she wants and just how contract negotiations go during the off season.
Right. Yeah, we got a CBA coming up too, so
That's
that's true.
Well, before we look ahead, I mean, obviously the Dallas Wings, they have been eliminated from playoff contention. Well, officially eliminated, I think, like as of a week and a half ago. Let's be real. They've like realistically been eliminated like from playoff contention, probably like after the first month of the season. You know, it was definitely not trending in the direction. Right. I mean, what did they start? Like 2 of 11, I think, at one point or something like that.
It was a tough start. Yeah.
Yeah. But before we look ahead, I was just saying, let's rewind a little bit. You know, Dallas. I vividly remember Kurt Miller, celebrating right when it was announced that Dallas had won the lottery. A lot of optimism, and they made a lot of fairly aggressive moves this past offseason, right? I mean, they essentially, what kind of ended up becoming a 3-team trade. They acquired DiJonai Carrington, Myisha Smith. You know, they brought in veteran presence like Myisha Hines-Allen, who has been a part of a number of really good teams, great teams.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it seemed like it at the time, right, especially during training camp, that the goal, whether explicitly stated or not, was like, no, they wanted to be a playoff team. And frankly, this team is anything but a playoff team. Like it went off the rails fairly quickly. I know it's a loaded question, but just what went wrong? Like, what do you think like was the main or one of the main or the main factors where they couldn't get it together, at least early enough to build any momentum for a playoff push?
Yeah, I think, the WNBA is interesting because you have like 2 preseason games, you have a week of training camp, and I just think the Wings brought in a number of really good players who just did not know how to play with each other early, which is why you mentioned the tough start. And I think that played a role. And then when you factor in the injuries, you have all these different lineups. You're trying to have players develop chemistry, and that's nearly impossible when they're not on the floor together. So everyone blames the head coach, KOCLANES, but I think he's trying to navigate putting in DiJonai and Alyssa and Arike and Paige, these players who really hadn't played together before. And that's a really difficult thing to do. So I do think the Wings were kind of hoping to not win a championship this year, but make some type of run. And I think midway through the year, they just realized like this isn't it. And they traded Melissa, they traded DiJonai. Now Arike's, future of the team is in question. She might resign, we'll see. But it just didn't work. And I think now they're rebuilding and they're looking to the future. And I think they just realized like this just did not work. And it's unfortunate because there was potential. And I think in NBA and WNBA, we've seen it where you put great players together and sometimes it just doesn't work. And that's okay. Like you tried it, you move on, and now you build around Paige.
Right. I just want to ask you, just thinking slightly ahead. I know the expansion draft is coming up and everything, but just going forward, just with Paige, who do you think on this roster is like a good fit with Paige going forward? You know what I mean? Because we're about to come to the CBA, everybody's free agents, the expansion, the WNBA draft as well. And everybody know we want AZ to go to Dallas. It's a lot of people out there screaming other names. And I'm like, no, why would you do that? But I hope AZ lands there. But who on the roster do you feel like fits perfectly with what Paige does on the floor for Dallas?
Yeah, first of all, I do want to mention the AZ thing. I do think that AZ would be a good fit. And I know there's other talking points about that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think strictly basketball, I think it would be a good fit. That's just my opinion. But anyway, to your question.
He's too good, man.
That's the thing. Like you make it work. But but to your question.
I don't know.
So there's a number of players. I think Maddie Siegrist, she's been great lately. I think that's a great fit. Yeah. The Wings have to decide, like, is Paige a point guard or is she going to play off the ball? In the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't matter because she's able to handle both things so well. But I would like the Wings to say, hey, look, this is your role. Because there's been different lineups this year where she's point guard, where she's running off the wing.
Yeah.
I'd like to see her say, look, you're running the point, or look, you're our shooting guard, you're a wing. because then they can go get a point guard or whatever they need to fill the roster with. So Matt Segrist, great fit. I think Aziaha James, honestly, is a good fit.
I love Aziaha, bro.
She's fun to watch. She's a good scorer. I mean, she hasn't been a great scorer this year, but I think the future, the outlook for her is promising in that sense. So, yeah, Maddie, Aziaha, a lot of those young players for sure. The vets as well, like, MHA, Arike. But I'm kind of looking more at the core of players, the future, those younger players. And, to answer your question, Maddie and Aziaha, those are the two who I really see fitting well with her.
Thank you. Go ahead, Con.
I guess since we already brought them up, we talked about Paige. I mean, I'm going to ask this. This is, like, in my opinion, a very obvious question, but just, for clarity for our audience, is Paige Bueckers the Rookie of the Year?
The answer is an astounding yes. And I'll leave it at that. Just 100% yes.
Was it ever a race, Joey? In your opinion, was it really a race?
I don't think it was. And obviously I'm on Twitter or X, whatever it's called, all the time. And you see the narrative, you see other people. And look, Sonia Citron, heck of a player. Right. Any other year, she's probably the Rookie of the Year. This year, there's a generational talent doing things we haven't seen. It was like Caitlin last year. Like, Caitlin was always going to win. Paige was always going to win this year, unless the injuries kept her out too long. But she hasn't missed too much time. Paige is your Rookie of the Year.
Terrific. I guess, yeah, in kind of doing like an early kind of like yearbook assessment of the rookies, I think we talked about Paige and how you believe, right, like she could definitely elevate a team, if they continue to put complementary pieces around her. I want to save Aziaha for last, actually, because relatively speaking, of the three rookies that made the opening day roster, it was actually third-round pick JJ Quinerly, who got substantially more playing time than Aziaha. And I don't want to say a polarizing player, but I think fans are a little bit divided on how they really see her, both as a player and as a long-term projected player for this team, like whether or not she is one of those quote unquote core players moving forward. Chris KOCLANES gave her a fairly long leash for a third-round pick. What are your opinions? Like, how would you really assess JJ Quinerly's rookie season, and what do you see of her moving forward with the Dallas Wings?
Yeah, I think when the Wings decided they were going to play Paige off the ball, they said we need a point guard, and they put JJ there. And the fans weren't always big fans of that because they wanted P at the point. I did think that JJ did some really good things. I remember one game. So I think a lot of people get hung up on, shot selection. And granted, JJ had some games where her shot selection wasn't great. But I remember one game, I was watching it, and I watched the game to see how you impact the game overall. I don't just base your performance based on how well you shot the basketball.
Right.
And I put out a tweet, and I said, I really like the way JJ is approaching this game. And some of the fans were like, what are you talking about? She's taking terrible shots. And her plus minus was actually really respectable that game. And she was doing other things really well. So when I look at JJ, I think she impacts the game in multiple ways. And look, does she need to make better decisions with passing and shooting the ball at times? For sure. And she's a young rookie. That's the case for most rookies. But I like JJ. For a third-round pick, like you mentioned, she's been better than you could have imagined. And it's tough that the injury happened. She's going to be the rest of the season. Would have been a good time, right now, to give her some run and kind of see what you have with her. But like you mentioned, she did have a long lead and you got to see a lot of JJ. So I do think she'll be on the team next year, and they'll give her a chance. And if they do make Paige the point guard, maybe you have JJ as a really good backup point guard. I don't think she'll start at point guard next year, but hey, you never know. But I like JJ. I think she's a player.
Nice. How do you feel about Lee Yuru? Do you feel like, because she's really turned on, you know what I mean? She's turned it all the way up. Do you feel like Dallas, the team, I'm not sure how close you are with the team, but do you feel like they want her to be a staple as well?
I think so. I mean, Lee's awesome. Like, she's a great personality. We love talking to her. Just really kind human being. But yeah, from a basketball standpoint, they like what she brings. She brings great size, and she can, her paint defense does need to improve. Right. But they do like the potential for Lee on that team because they need center help, center depth. Yeah. And I think that's really what intrigues Curt Miller in the front office.
Okay. I'm glad I asked you that. Go ahead, Con.
The final rookie of this was actually the second first rounder actually for the Dallas Wings, Aziaha James. Mm-hmm. Now, everything that you guys just said, and to be clear, so I do a lot of WNBA draft work, right? Like she to be clear, she was like a first rounder for me. Like she was, I think like a top 7 pick for me. You know what I'm saying? Like I had her ranked, I think like in the top 7 or top 8. Well, what I'm trying to say is I largely agree with everything you said. The potential to be like a dynamic scorer, to be an absolute threat on the ball, to be able to break defenses off the dribble. The problem is she showed very little of that this year. And on top of that, she didn't have nearly as many opportunities to try to show that or to work through that. How would you assess Aziaha's rookie season, and why do you think she didn't get as much playing time, especially even before the massive injury bug hit these last several weeks? Like there was still a lack of depth at guard, and she still wasn't really getting any consistent run.
No, it's a great question, and it's something I've actually mentioned on social media. Like I think I've tried my best to support KOCLANES amid all the criticism he gets. That's one thing where I wish, and maybe it's not his call, maybe other people are telling him, hey, let's be patient with it. I don't know. But I do think they should have given her a lot more playing time because I want to see what she has to offer. And she had games where she looked great. And yeah, she had games where she didn't. And that's, a consistent thing, or consistency thing, I should say. But I think we both agree that the ceiling is there. And it's really just figuring out, can she find consistency? And it's hard to find consistency. If anyone's ever played basketball listening, if you don't play consistently, it's hard to find rhythm. And I think for Aziaha, you're trying to find that rhythm. Well, some games you're getting any minutes, other games you're getting a decent amount of minutes. So hopefully they give her a specific role. Just like I said with Paige, give Aziaha a specific role, make her that role, and let her know every night this is what you're going to do. Maybe you're playing that 6th person role off the bench. Maybe you're starting, whatever it is, I don't care. Just give her that role, let her do it every night so she finds that consistency. So maybe she lives up to that offensive potential we've talked about.
So you said that you felt JJQ did enough to warrant her spot on next year's roster. Did Aziaha do enough? Other than her draft status, did Aziaha do enough to warrant being on next year's opening day roster?
Yeah, first to clarify with JJ, to warrant her spot back at point guard, I think. I don't expect her to
start. I just meant on the actual 12-player roster. Yeah.
Sure, yeah. No, I think Aziaha, I don't think you can hold it against her. She didn't play enough to not warrant a spot. I think they'd be foolish to give up on Aziaha, not seeing her. Actually get the opportunity. Give her a chance next year. If you give her the chance and halfway through the season it's just not working out, then you have that conversation. But you're a rebuilding team. Why give up on her? You're not going to win a championship next season probably. So I don't see any reason to move on yet. That's just my thoughts on it though.
I like that. I feel like in the minutes that Aziaha did get, especially when Arike was out early, she was going crazy, bro. She was going super crazy. And it just made it seem like, Paige just needs another guard next to her. You know what I mean? So how do you feel about what this team needs going forward as far as building around Paige? What is the best formula to probably get her, you know what I mean? Does she need another shooter next to her, or does she need a big? You know what I mean? Because they have Lee, and then looking forward, they can draft a Sarah Strong or somebody down the line. But what do you feel would help her the most, shooting or a big, preferably?
I mean, I think both, to be honest with you. But But I think shooters for sure. I think you need spot-up shooters like you can just find
Like
in
a
the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Secondary ball handler.
Yeah, that'd be great. But yeah, another center wouldn't hurt either because they've had some center depth issues this year. So both, but I'd say shooters probably takes priority because you have Louisa, you have Lee. So go get a point shooter who shoots above 36, 37%, and that'll help a lot.
Okay. Con?
Well, you brought up his name. You named him by name. So I think we can move forward. I was just like, because again, I'm with you. I think I think any coach is, going to be subject to criticism. In any professional sports. And if anything goes right, it's usually the players who get credited. If anything goes wrong, it's usually the coach, right? If not the coach, maybe the front office. But, you were saying actually both about Chris KOCLANES and like Aziaha James and JJ Quinerly, you kind of pointed out like, okay, at times, it's not like we're trying to come off as know-it-alls, but when fans, I think, are a little too fixated on the results as opposed to the process, right? It's kind of what you were mentioning. So same thing is applicable to both players and coaches. I think with Chris, throughout this entire season, especially early in the season, I tried to break down his sets, kind of break down his adjustments, right, from a process-oriented thing. Forget about the results, especially when, you have players in and out of the lineup.
Yeah.
But I can understand with fans, it becomes a lot harder to even try to entertain understanding the process when the results look so bad.
Yeah.
So you have been there from like day one. That's actually how I got into contact with you, is because of all like your great preseason coverage, your training camp coverage. So you're there, you're seeing a lot of things firsthand that fans don't.
Right.
Like, how would you really now, having seen this, basically the season's almost over, how would you really assess Chris KOCLANES as a head coach? And I know that's very open-ended, but, please.
Yeah, no, I think he's where do I begin? I think with Chris, he came into the season never having been a head coach in the WNBA. And there's a lot to tackle when you have that role. You have the media. You got to give the answers, or the fans get angry. You got to, more importantly, you got to set up the offense and defense correctly. You got to develop your schemes. You can't worry about what other people think. You got to do what you think is going to work. And I think as the season's gone on, he's grown more confident in his vision, if you will. I think at the beginning of the season, I'm not saying he was trying to just please everyone, but I think he wasn't quite as confident. That's just me, again, from the outside looking in. With the media as well. Like, I think he's gotten a lot better at answering questions, which is important. It's a part of it. But from an on-court standpoint, whether it's challenging calls or when to call timeouts is a big part of coaching people don't realize. I do think he's improved in that sense. I don't have the numbers on his efficiency in timeouts and stuff, but just from the eye test tells me that like he's improved in that sense. And I've just seen more confidence. And I do think, because I don't know if you're going to ask me this or not, but a lot of people have asked me, will he be head coach next year? And in my opinion, I think they'll give him at least one more chance, because this is Curt Miller's guy. Curt Miller brought him in. Again, they're building. So kind of similar to Aziaha. Like, don't give up on it yet. Give him another shot. And if the next year is brutal, it's just not working out, then yeah, you have that conversation. But I think for now, his job is safe. Could I be wrong? It's possible, for sure. From what I've heard, I do think they'll give him at least one more chance, for sure.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I was fairly optimistic, during training camp, just from like the videos that you posted. I was like, okay, right? Like, these base sets, I get it. It actually does play to Paige's strengths. And I like the way he was kind of incorporating like MHA and Maddie, kind of using them in like a dual, like a combo forward lineup. There was a lot of opportunity for kind of a small ball lineups with either Nalissa at the 5 or even MHA at the 5. And well, now there's no option anymore. MHA just has to play the 5, right?
Yeah, just
but Yeah, I actually thought that like some of like his base sets, motion offense, use a lot of like curl and flare action, was creative. I think where early in the off, like I base a lot of my assessment more towards the beginning and the middle of the season when they actually had like a 12-player roster. Right now,
Yeah.
it's like whatever. But
Right now, yeah.
yeah, I think at times where when the offensive lulls started to happen, was when there was a lack of counters. When their initial action kind of either got like slowed up, jammed up, blown up, they didn't really have something to go to. And at times, he actually did even state that, right? He said, you know, when this happens, we need to make a more concerted effort to get into like our secondary break, the secondary action. I think a lot of fans tuned him out because the L's started piling up. What do you think was the reason why they actually did struggle to kind of get into like establish any counter moves or to have like, yeah, like kind of like a release set when things kind of got jammed up in the half court?
It's a great question. And I remember early in the season looking at the film and breaking down actions and thinking about curls and everything. And then I kind of thought about it as the season went on. And I was like, okay, why isn't this working? Because on the surface, the offense could work, right? Like the actions they have, if they get into those secondary actions, it could work. What I realized is that they're bringing so many new players on 7 days. There's players in and out of the lineup. It really just became clear to me that people kept saying free-flowing offense, but I think that was a case of players maybe not knowing the offense because they're brand new. And you're bringing in new players, new things. So I really would like to see KOCLANES' sets with a consistent lineup where you can have the same lineup for, you know, a week straight. It'd be nice, right? I don't think we've seen that all year. I mean, maybe we have, but it's been pretty rare. So again, like the breakdowns and everything, I remember doing that early in the season. Over the past couple of weeks, just really hasn't been worth it as much because they have 8 players on the floor, and 2 of them are on 7 days or the extreme hardship contract. So right now it's tough to evaluate that. I'd like to see that with Arike if she returns, Paige, the starting lineup, see if it works out in that sense.
Do you feel like mentioning Arike, and I'm gonna bring her up again? Like I've always said that she needed to like slow down, kind of control her pace, or you know, before Paige was drafted there, if Dallas is going to succeed, she needs to actually have like a certain type of pace to her. You know what I mean? Like adopt like an actual floor general-esque kind of like flow to her game as opposed to just being explosive. You know what I mean? It's like she gets the ball and then she'll just go off for 30 all of a sudden, or she just won't be doing anything. I've wanted her to balance it, and I've seen her kind of sacrifice a little bit this year. You know what I mean? Like, and then like, cause I want to really get behind the veil of like, she's been supporting Paige. She's like, oh, that's my rook and all, you know, stuff like that. But do they really vibe like that? You know what I mean? Like outside of just the basketball floor, how much do you know about them? Like, do they really get along outside of basketball? Like, you know what I mean? Like off the floor in the locker rooms and whatnot.
Are you kidding?
Based on what I know, it seems like they get along fine. I don't think there's any drama or anything that I know of. Again, like when they're on the floor, they get along great, of course. And before games, like they're usually like playing catch with the basketball, like throwing it back and forth, like Paige when Arike was healthy. So that's a sign that they're probably at least, you know, cool with each other. So again, I'm not in the locker room, so I don't know the exact answer, but it does seem like they get along for sure.
Okay. I'm just trying to figure out, like, is Arike part of the long-term future for this team? Like, because it just seems like Paige came in and I got to kiss goodbye to that Mark Cuban commercial with Arike.
I mean, on the topic of Arike, you know, Joey, I think fans know where I'm going with this. Joey, you had a very interesting back and forth in a post-game media session with Arike. And I mean, let's be real. She took exception to something that you said about her. Now, I'm going to read what you said. And before I ask you a question, I'm just going to preface how I interpret it, which is, again, it's interesting how people Like we could all look at the same painting, right? You interpret it differently. We could read something and somehow it gets interpreted massively differently. But you tweeted, this was during the first half of a game earlier this month. And your exact tweet was, "This is just my opinion, but Arike Ogunbowale hasn't looked comfortable in this offense all season, with or without Paige Beckers on the floor. Sure, she's had some good games, but it's been a difficult year. Arike has never been the most efficient scorer, but she's been able to consistently score at a respectable level throughout her career. Tonight is another example of Ogunbowale just not finding that early rhythm in her offense. 3 points, 1 of 7 shooting from the field at half with Beckers out." Now, when I read that, to me, that was more of
Signed, sealed,
a
delivered.
criticism. If it's criticism, it's more, to me, it was more of a criticism of Chris KOCLANES' system than Arike. That's how I interpreted it. Because one, as you, in your follow-up tweet, that was not the first time you had, echoed or had shared those sentiments. You had said that multiple times. And frankly, I've been telling Michael that, like, since preseason game 1, I was like, she has not looked comfortable at all. So before, like, that actual interaction, like, yeah, I'm with you. Like, to me, Arike's game has always been more of like an ISO game, where, as you pointed out, like, it's really interesting because she likes to isolate kind of in the mid post on the elbow to kind of get to like her jumper. She doesn't actually, for the amount of, because, okay, here's like my little analytics nerdum here, right? Because I looked it up. For the amount of isolation possessions that she generates, she doesn't generate a lot of looks at the rim. So it's a really weird, it's kind of like a very specific isolation player, which, as you said, right, that'll kind of result, if you can't find an early rhythm, it'll result in kind of inconsistent production. So before that interaction, which I think a lot of fans would probably like some, a little nostalgia looking back at that moment, but more so as it pertains to the basketball, just again, going back to Chris KOCLANES, is it a communication thing? Is it just maybe the surrounding cast around her? Why was someone who, right, they were really pumping the idea of Arike, right, all preseason? Why did she just never, her season's done. She just never got into any rhythm. And as you said, just never looked comfortable. What did you see? Like, maybe if there's something we didn't see in the games, and it's something that maybe you saw at practice, just why couldn't she really get into that flow?
Yeah, I think, when I made that tweet, I was watching the game like I had all year, and it just was clear to me that Arike just wasn't fitting in the offense. I really appreciate you reading that correctly, because it wasn't a shot at Arike. Like, it really was just a great player, and this is an offense, and this great player isn't fitting in this offense. That was my point. I think people were like, "Oh, you're attacking her." I'm like, I'm not. Like, but anyway, I digress. So the fit itself, I think it's just been, I don't know exactly what it is, but I think KOCLANES was trying to build an offense where you have Paige Beckers leading the way, and you can get into the secondary actions. You can get players open in the corner. And where Arike, she had been in her whole career, someone like you mentioned, the ISO focused. And there's not a lot of ISO in this offense. If you watch this offense, it's almost reminiscent of like a college offense, where it's ball movement, move ball. And Arike, she is an ISO player. So it's a change for her. And if you remember her answer after, or actually multiple times, her answer, like, it's a new offense, new coach, and that's just true. Like, it's a new system. So I think that was probably like the biggest change, I guess you could say.
I mean, as you said, the nature of Chris's motion offense, right? I get it, right? Like, ideally, if it's working, all 5 players are viable scoring options in any given possession, right?
Yep.
That means you have to be able to be somewhat productive off the ball, right? Arike, because again, I look these things up, right? She's never been a particularly good catch and shoot player. So naturally, I think we really have to be asking, is she really a fit for this team? because at times for me, I've put it out there many times on this show. I think this is a square peg in a round hole kind of situation. I admire her and Paige, their willingness to try to make it work.
Right.
I just don't. I struggle to see the long-term fit. You've already mentioned that the front office and the coaching staff has expressed a desire to bring her back. So I mean, like, how do you see this working, Joey? Like, what are we not seeing then? Like, how this is gonna fit and work?
Yeah, if it's gonna work, they're gonna have to design some plays where Arike is able to have ISOs, because she is a really good ISO player. It's fun to watch. Like, she can create her own shot really well. You can't only have the motion offense if you have Arike, because if you want her to be at her best, you got to let her have those looks. And that's where they have expressed the desire, like they'd like to bring her back, but they will analyze it very closely. Say, you know what, if we don't think we can give her those opportunities, we might need to make a hard decision. And I don't know what's going to happen. They're going to have a hard decision to make, and Arike is as well, because Arike, it's not just the wings. If we bring her back, we get her. Like, she's going to get other offers. So, there's a lot to think in that sense, but to make it work, it's just letting Arike be Arike. And if the wings don't think they can let Arike be Arike in their offense, then that's where the difficult conversation comes to fruition.
I have a question. What do you think was like the issue with like DiJonai being there? Like, why didn't that translate into, you know what I mean? Because that's like putting Paige with somebody who can defend and she doesn't have to defend the primary defender, the primary offensive player on the opposing team. You know what I mean? Like, what happened with her where she just didn't continue on with the team? If you know,
that was a weird situation. DiJonai was starting early in the season.
Yeah. And
then she had an injury, and then she also wasn't starting for a bit. And she expressed to us, she was like, I came here, this isn't verbatim, but it was, she said she came here, she was going to start, and then she wasn't, but she said she's willing to do whatever she can to help the team.
Yeah.
But in my opinion, it just seemed like she was maybe ready. I think she requested a trade, but she was maybe ready for a change of scenery. Yeah. I just don't think it really worked out for her. And I don't know what happened behind the scenes. Like, I don't know if it was a basketball, X's and O's
type of
what I was
thinking that too.
Yeah, I don't know if it was, again, I don't want to suggest anything, but I don't know exactly what happened. But I think DiJonai had some great moments. She is a good defender. She's a good player, and she's doing good with Minnesota, so really happy for her. I think that's been a good fit for her. Just, again, the fit in Dallas just didn't work, and the Wings made the hard decision to trade her, and it's worked out well for her in Minnesota so far.
Yes, sir.
I mean, I think those are the two, DiJonai and Arike both having, entered this season with a fairly substantial body of work where they have been successful, in their, for their respective teams, right? In the past, I think the two of them struggling the most, I think, was concerning for fans. Again, do you believe, because as you said, DiJonai had moments where she kind of candidly expressed that it was difficult for her. Again, was it a communication issue, and not even just being able for the coaching staff or Chris to be able to explain their role, or was it just an inability to even come up with an appropriate and consistent role? Because there were times where, and this is, again, not even knock on DiJonai, but the manner in which she was used at times was really curious, right? At one point in the season, she was one of the league leaders in post-ups. It was really odd. So that's why I'm saying, what is it that was there was just this clear disconnect, especially from the players that were supposed to be looked at as the veterans of this team to kind of help establish that high floor, and it just never came together.
Yeah, my honest opinion, I think the Wings were trying to maybe experiment with new things throughout the year, and I think DiJonai thought she knew her role, and then like you mentioned, they tried her in some different roles, and maybe that led to some of the inconsistency in her role, just like coming off the bench, posting up. Like, it wasn't the DiJonai Carrington that we've seen before, and it's kind of been like that for every player. Like, we've seen Paige in different roles. We've seen Aziaha. We've seen MHA. Like, almost every player. I can't think of one player who's really had the same exact role. I mean, all season really. So I think to try new things, and with DiJonai, it didn't work out. With some of the younger players, it could. Maybe you find out that JJ was a good point guard. Maybe you find out that Aziaha can do what she can. So I think that's one thing to do with younger players on a rebuilding team. But DiJonai, she wants to win. She's a veteran. And I think that's why you saw it just kind of just not work out.
Right. You actually, you just brought up MHA. And again, another player who amongst the fans is another polarizing figure. And this time I will say polarizing because it's like, whoa. You know, depending on the day, depending on the possession, right? You could dislike her or you could hate her, basically. I think more often than not, it's negative with MHA. But I guess we'll start out. How would you assess MHA's performance this year? And again, as you just said, like her role has fluctuated seemingly game to game. But I mean, just how would you assess what she did or perhaps didn't do for the Wings this year?
I was going to ask him that too.
That's a great question. And honestly, I don't know if people will like this, but I'm a big MHA fan. I think she brings so much energy because I see like the practices and before the game, and she just brings this leadership, this veteran prowess that you can't teach. And with Paige, it's more of a laid back type of leadership. With MHA, it's like energy. Like she's going to fire the team up. We saw her talk to fans earlier in the year to defend, or a little bit, like a few weeks ago, to defend KOCLANES. I think I really like that about her. Now, from an on-court basketball standpoint, yeah, there's been some ups and downs. I think with, again, trying to figure out how to use her. Is she your power forward who is focused on the defensive end of the floor? Can you use her to post up? Can you get her jump shots? Is she going to shoot jump shots? Like, I think they're trying to figure out with HA, and that's what it's looked like to me throughout the season. But I think she brings more than just the on-court. Like, you need that player who's going to fire up everybody. And that's why MHA is one of my favorite players in the team, like, for that reason.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate. Like, but it happens for every team where, like, sometimes injuries, like, you kind of stumble upon the most appropriate, like a given player, you kind of end up like stumbling upon the most appropriate role for you because other injuries kind of forced you into that position. I feel like what she's been doing since the All-Star break is, I think that's what she should have been doing from the start. Instead of being more of like a point center, being like an offensive hub, kind of getting her around, you know, kind of like towards like the key or the like the free throw line, right? Where she could either just like, you know, basic like kind of, you know, DHOs, and then kind of cut, you know, use her footwork, her strength, you know, to work her way to the rim. And you're seeing it now, right? Was obviously Nalissa Smith was traded. T. McGowan's no longer with the team. You know, obviously Lee is out for the season. You know, it sucks that like you're starting to see something that like works, but it's late in the season, you know? But going back to what you just said there, actually, about when she very publicly defended Chris KOCLANES, because I think, well, I wanted your opinion since you're there. You're the boots on the ground. Like, in my opinion, this is my opinion, I think it's massively excessive to be making signs and printing out shirts and chanting like, you know, fire Chris or we want Noel, you know, like when sitting right behind, like directly behind the bench. MHA definitely stood up for him, but what is the feeling amongst the rest of the team? Like, she has no problem being vocal, the spokesperson. But how are the other like teammates, like the other players? Like, when that happens, what kind of effect does it have on them, you know, especially in game?
Yeah, when you have a basketball team, you want unity and you want everyone to come together. And I do think a moment like that will provide unity. I don't know how all the players feel about KOCLANES. MHA said they all, are going to support him. He's the head coach, which I think's the professional way to go about it. Like, he is the head coach, and you don't want to be at odds with your head coach, because once that happens, it's a slippery slope. So I think that moment provided unity. And this team, say what you want, like the injuries, the underperformance, they have stayed together. It's been kind of inspiring. Like, there's been like drama that you hear about with teams that are going through hard times. Like, they seem to really enjoy each other's company. And I know that's not like a basketball point, but it's important. Like, chemistry is so important. It doesn't get talked about enough. So that's why I like MHA, because she does stuff like that where she'll unite the team, and it makes everyone come together, makes them excited about the future. And I don't know if she's going to be with the team, for the long-term future, but I think it'd be smart for them to keep her around, because she just brings that veteran leadership, like I mentioned, and it unites the team.
I mean, she has, even again on her previous teams, whether it was like, Washington or Minnesota, like, she has like that kind of element of irrational confidence, right? That I think every team needs, because like that, let's be real, right? You see, like, I mean, sometimes I say it sarcastically, like I'll tweet out like some highlights of her where like she'll run like the, her solo fast breaks and everything like that, where like she's just like a bull in a china shop, right? Like, just right. Like, it may be end up great, it may not, but again, right? You kind of need those types of players on the team. Before we go, since we said like we wanted to talk about this season, but
I've been wanting to get into fantasy land. Trust me, it's so much fantasy stuff in my head. I'm like, I will wait.
Not necessarily fantasy, because Joey, I mean, if our audience, if you've caught Joey on some other podcasts recently, correct me if I'm wrong, you made a fairly bold prediction. I wouldn't say proclamation, but a fairly bold prediction. You were asked, when will the Dallas Wings, if ever, when will they win their next championship? And what was your answer?
I said 2027.
2027.
I went for it.
Okay, let's take baby steps, right? First of all, I think fans would be like, right, they would be elated if that's like a realistic possibility. So, in order for it to be a realistic possibility, right? Because right now, for example, you only really said, okay, there are two players that you personally would feel very strongly need to be brought back, right? Meaning not necessarily saying that the other are expendable, but there's a lot of work to be done on this roster.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just say, in order for them to even have like a puncher's chance at being in title contention in 2027,
mm-hmm.
what absolutely needs to happen this offseason to set the stage for 2027?
Yeah, first of all, I'll admit that question caught me off guard, and I wanted to give an optimistic take, but I'll stand by it. I said it, so I'll stand by it. So this offseason, you're rebuilding and bring in players who can fit. Like, you asked me about what they need, and I said bring in a shooter or two. Start building the foundation. So 2026 is the foundation. Maybe you take a step forward, because right now they're the worst team in the league. Next year you take that foundation. Maybe you become a fringe contender. Maybe you, maybe you make the playoffs. Maybe you don't next year. But I do think they'll get to that point where it's like, okay, like they're in the post. And then by 2027 that comes around, maybe that off season before you go out and you get another game or two. So now you have a potential, if Arike is still there, you got 4 really good players. If Arike is not, you have a big 3 with Paige, 2 other stars. Maybe Maddie becomes an all-star, which I do think she can become a star in this league. Some people don't agree with that. That's fine. That's my thoughts on it. And I think like Aziaha, if she takes a step forward, that I think. Now, in order for 2027 to happen, you need a lot of things to go right. So Aziaha James to become the player we think she can be. Matt needs to take that star step. Paige is going to be Paige. Paige is awesome. So a lot of things need to go right, but I'll stand by it. Shoot, why not? 2027, Wings all the way. Why not?
Let's go.
Right now, you're not wrong. You're just early. Right?
Last thing I'm going to say is, The last thing I'm gonna say is just I love the Wings because they were the shock, then they went Tulsa, and then they went to Dallas. So I've been a fan forever myself too. So I wouldn't mind seeing them actually on the good side of things. And like I seen what was coming. I seen what Alicia was capable of when she was there. Marina was capable of. It's just Isabel Harrison. Like I felt like Dallas had too much of a logjam over there. And now it seems like with Paige being there, they seem to be like really starting to like, okay, we need to figure this out. This person needs to play this. We need this type of player. We need like it's been a while, and I just think going forward that they'll be fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean the future is exciting. It really is.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
I think people were surprised like, losing this
Right.
year. It's like, look, you had the number one pick for a reason. Like, this wasn't a good team last year. They're not going to be great this year. Like, it's to be expected. But the future's bright, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Okay.
Before we close out, I got two quick questions here. Just because right now there's like a lot of, let's be real, there's a lot of pessimism, right, amongst Wings fandom. Just again, given the way the nature of this season has played out. You already talked about obviously the draft will be crucial, right? Kind of ideally hitting on their next couple draft picks, but this summer or this offseason will be one of the most unprecedented free agent classes in a long time, where like approximately like 70% of the league's current players are going to be a free agent in one form or another, unrestricted, restricted, whatever. Right. In your opinion, Joey, either like how you would sell it or how you think the team, the front office, will sell free agents. What is their pitch? What is their pitch to be competitive in, being able to lure some of these appealing free agents to Dallas?
I love that question. And the pitch is, so we're lucky because with the next couple of years, they're supposed to get a new arena in Dallas. So if you guys know, like Arlington, Texas is about half an hour or so without traffic from Dallas.
Without traffic.
Without traffic. That's very important.
Right. I know what that means.
I like how you have to like put that little asterisk there.
Right. I mean, I'm in Dallas, so like that drive, it's not fun when it's a Monday night or something. But Arlington, great city, but I think players would want to come to Dallas, and I think LA and New York are obviously your big markets. Now San Francisco with Golden State. You look at the people, like Dallas is awesome. It's a fun city. And that's, I think, how you begin selling it. It's like, hey, we're getting a new arena. We're getting a new practice facility. It's going to be state of the art. It's going to be very professional. That's how you start it. And then you say, okay, so you're coming to Dallas, great city, great facilities. Now we're building around the superstar in the making in Paige Bueckers. So you can come to Dallas and live, enjoy some Texas barbecue. You get to play alongside Paige Bueckers, who's going to become an MVP candidate someday. We have a good young player, Maddie Segrist, on the up and up. Potentially Arike if she stays. We got a good coaching staff. I know KOCLANES was ups and downs, but there are good coaches like Nola Henry. She's been a great assistant. I love Nola Henry. I think she's done a great job. I just think there's optimism for the future. So if you're selling it, that's how you sell it. You say, hey, we could potentially win at some point down the road, play alongside Star. You're in a good city with great facilities. Maybe you get free agents to buy into that.
Just real quick for clarification, in case I missed it, in terms of, you just mentioned facilities. What's the status with the new practice facility?
Yes, there's been last thing we heard, which was a few months ago, it's supposed to be ready in, I believe, 2026, and then the actual arena will be 2027. But okay. I think there was some type of delay on that, so I don't know exactly if it's still for sure 2026. I believe it is, but hopefully we'll get a new update on that once the season ends. It'll be a little more concrete with that.
Fair enough. And again, this one, I think, because this is a debate that frankly tires me, but it doesn't go away. And as someone who covers the WNBA draft, I have to answer this damn question every day. Say Dallas gets the number one pick, right? Throughout the course of this show, you already said Dallas. Oh my God, we need to upgrade shooters. We absolutely need better, as this I definitely agree with Chris. And this, again, got swept under the rug because fans were so displeased with the team's performance. Chris said, right, like, yeah, we can't rebound. We can't get out in transition. Like, even if we get a stop, right, if we can't stay in front of people and we're having to overhelp, basically what he's saying is they needed to upgrade their perimeter defense. So, okay, right, we're talking about guard, wing. Dallas also kind of lacks an interior presence on both sides, right? Not a lot of scoring around the rim, not a lot of rim protection. So if they have the number one pick, what do you think is more pressing of an issue or pressing of a need, right? A 3-and-D guard or a rim protecting big?
So the thing about it is, like, you look into the role and you say, okay, we need this fit, we need this fit. But for me, when I look at the draft, I want the best possible player. Like, the only reason I'd pass on the best possible player is if I already have a superstar at that position and the fit just does not work at all. But when I look at Lauren Betts, I look at AZ Fudd, both of those players would make sense. And I know on Wings Twitter, it's people know it's only Lauren Betts or no, it's only AZ Fudd. For me, like, both of them make sense. So I want to watch this next season, see who shows the most potential, and go from there. But look, again, I do want to just mention the AZ thing again because people have talked about it being a distraction. It won't be. Like, if the outside noise makes it, it won't matter. I know Paige Beckers, she is so professional. Like, I'm 28. When I was 23, I was an idiot just getting out of college. Paige is like 23-year-old young woman who has this really just great sense of professionalism. So any of the exterior stuff, it won't be an issue. So I don't even want to focus on that. I just wanted to say that just to make it clear. Yeah. But I think AZ Fudd, if she is the best player, take her. Put her in, bring her to Dallas, build a championship. They won at UConn. Go ahead, make me right. 2027, AZ and Paige.
All right, there you go. You know, we'll start the Photoshops and everything. You know, again.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. Joey, before we get out of here, let everybody know where they can see your work and where they can find you at as well.
Yeah, for sure. I write for Clutch Points. I cover the Dallas Mavericks and Dallas Wings. I'm on Twitter or X, Joey Mistretta _, and then over on Instagram, Joey _Mistretta 24.
All right. All right, y'all. Thank y'all for listening. Make sure y'all go follow Joey and go tap in with what he's doing over there on Clutch Points for the Dallas Wings, the Dallas Mavs. And we're gone. We out. Good night.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks for having me.